Most men believe promises will bring her back. They think if they just say the right thing, if they tell her, "I'll change. I'll do better. I'll never hurt you again," that somehow it will flip a switch in her mind and undo her decision. But that's not what draws her back. Words don't make her return, absence does. Change does. She doesn't come back because you told her you've changed. She comes back when she feels the weight of your absence and sees with her own eyes that the man she left no longer exists. This is where most men get it wrong. They believe if they just explain themselves better, if they argue their case hard enough, she will reconsider. But love doesn't work like a courtroom. You can't argue someone back into your life. The harder you try to convince her, the more certain she becomes about leaving. That's why this process is not about her, it's about you. It's not manipulation, it's not some trick to win her over. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs to convince. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you reclaim your power. When you change in a way that is real and undeniable, when your actions show that you no longer need her validation, not only does she start questioning her decision, but you start questioning whether she even deserves the man you've become. That is the real shift, when your focus turns from "how do I get her back" to "how do I become the strongest, most centered version of myself." And ironically, that is the version of you she is most likely to miss, because it's the one who no longer depends on her for his sense of worth. The first step is to stop feeding her certainty. When she leaves, she feels safe because she believes she knows exactly how you'll react. She expects the text, the late-night calls, the "I miss you" message, the check-ins, maybe even the desperate apology. That predictability makes her feel in control. It reassures her that even though she walked away, you're still there, waiting, orbiting her world. And as long as she feels that certainty, she feels no real loss. That's why you have to break the pattern. Not with anger, not with passive-aggressive games, but with quiet self-respect. You go silent. You step back completely. And suddenly, the story she was telling herself doesn't make sense anymore. The version of you she thought she had figured out no longer shows up. Now there's a gap, an empty space where your energy used to be, and that space makes her think. Psychologically, the mind hates uncertainty more than pain. If she knows what you're doing, she can process it, box it up, and move on. But when she doesn't know, when you become unreadable, your image keeps replaying in her mind. She wonders where you are, who you're with, why you haven't reached out. And the longer you hold that silence, the more it grows. That's why you must resist the urge to check in, to leave little breadcrumbs of attention on her posts, to send a casual message just to see how she's doing. Every time you break the silence, you feed her certainty again, and certainty lets her rest easy. Leave her in the tension of not knowing. Let her sit with the discomfort. That uncertainty is where her curiosity, and eventually her desire, begins to grow. The next step is to redefine the frame of loss. Most men walk around believing they're the ones who got left behind, the ones who were abandoned, and that frame alone keeps them stuck in weakness. When you see yourself as the one who was dumped, you start behaving like someone who's trying to catch up, to regain what was taken from him. That's why you chase, why you explain, why you argue. But the truth is she didn't just walk away from you, she walked away from everything you brought into her life. She walked away from the stability you gave her, the support you offered, the masculine grounding that centered her. When you fully step back, she feels that absence just as strongly as you feel hers. And this is why your mindset matters so much. If you keep saying "she left me," you keep yourself in the position of the one who lost. But the moment you flip it to "she lost me," the energy shifts completely. Because that's exactly what happened. She lost a man who gave her consistency, who provided direction, who built a foundation she relied on. And that's not easy to replace. When you see yourself as the prize, you stop moving from desperation. You stop texting paragraphs to explain yourself. You stop begging for her to remember who you were. Instead, you move forward quietly, powerfully. That shift forces her to feel the weight of what she walked away from. It's not your words that create regret. It's not your explanations. It's the moment she looks around and realizes the grounding presence she once had is gone, and she was the one who let it slip away. The next step is to build without broadcasting. Growth is powerful, but growth that is performed for an audience is hollow. Too many men try to prove they've leveled up by showing it off online, posting gym selfies, sharing motivational quotes, flaunting a new car, or hinting that they're talking to someone new. That's not real transformation. That's just another way of seeking her attention. Real growth happens in silence. It's when you're in the gym before sunrise, not to take a picture, but because you promised yourself you'd get stronger. It's when you focus on your money, your purpose, your craft, not to flex, but because you're building a life that fulfills you. It's when you upgrade your mind, your habits, and your standards without telling the world about it. The reason this is powerful is because silent growth has weight. It's undeniable. When she hears about you from someone else, when she sees you months later and notices you're sharper, stronger, calmer, it hits different. It catches her off guard. Because it shows her that you didn't just survive without her, you thrived. And nothing shakes someone more than realizing they were not your savior, they were just a chapter, and you kept writing the story without them. That's what creates impact, not the carefully curated posts meant to make her jealous. When your evolution speaks for itself, you don't have to say a word. You've turned into the man who no longer needs validation from her or anyone else. That quiet confidence is what makes her curious again, because it proves she no longer has access to you in the same way. The next step is to let her chase clarity. Most men destroy their own mystery by talking too much. They feel the need to explain why they went silent, why they pulled back, why they still love her, why she should reconsider. But the second you explain, you give her clarity, and clarity gives her closure. Closure is what allows her to move on without looking back. You need to do the opposite. Let her sit with unanswered questions. Let her wonder why you didn't text, why you didn't fight for her, why you didn't react like every other man she's ever known. That tension gnaws at her because women are drawn to tension far more than comfort. Comfort is predictable. Tension is magnetic. And while she's wondering, you have to master your emotional control. That means no angry outbursts, no late-night rants, no emotional begging. It means staying calm even in rejection, even in silence. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means you feel everything, but you don't let those feelings dictate your moves. This is what separates you from almost every other man. Most men get reactive, they lash out, they try to guilt her, they spiral. The man who stays composed becomes unforgettable because he shows her something rare, strength under pressure. When she sees you're no longer emotionally dependent on her reaction, her validation, or her attention, something shifts. The power dynamic flips. And now she's the one feeling unsettled, because she can no longer predict you or control you. That's when curiosity turns into pursuit. The final step is to stop waiting for her return. This is where most men stay stuck. They live with their life on pause, secretly hoping that one day she'll come back and everything will go back to how it was. But that mindset keeps you trapped because every decision you make is tied to a future that might never happen. The moment you accept that she may never return, you free yourself. You stop living in limbo and start living for yourself. You pour your energy into your purpose, into the things that make you feel alive, into building a life so full that whether she's in it or not no longer determines your happiness. And that's when something shifts. That freedom is magnetic because it shows you're no longer bound to her decision. She can feel that energy even from a distance. But to get there, you must make peace with the silence. The nights without her, the mornings without her voice, at first it feels unbearable. Most men try to escape that feeling by texting her, calling her, trying to get a response just to quiet the discomfort. But silence is where you grow. It's where you build patience, resilience, and strength. If you can sit with that silence and let it forge you, you stop fearing it, and that's when you become unrecognizable. The man she left was predictable, emotional, defined by the relationship. The man you become is calm, grounded, and whole. And if she ever does come back, you won't be the same. You'll be stronger, clearer, and complete. By then, her staying or leaving won't even matter, because you've already won by becoming the man you were meant to be.